Hey everyone, another TechExec series coming to you post and pre-live with Oren Bierkatz. Oren, VP of IT for Sapiens. I've known Oren for a long time. He has a lot of great experience and some really good information that I think should be shared with people around management, how to talk to people at different levels of a project, how to work with people in different time zones, different cultures, hybrid versus remote versus in office, what that means for businesses, the ramifications of trying to offer a hybrid model in every market that big businesses are in versus having a remote model with maybe once a month coming in and meeting your team. And then just some stuff around how he manages large scale projects and what makes it successful, what makes him successful, and just some really good stuff here that I think you guys will really like. I hope you guys get stuff out of this from a leadership standpoint, technology standpoint, how to deal with different people in large organizations from a technology lens. So let's see what Oren has to say, and we'll take this conversation live.
So happy Friday, Oren. Thank you for agreeing to do this TechExec series with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, you and I've known each other now probably a good 8 or 9 years, and we've had a lot of good conversations. We've worked well together, and I was excited when you agreed to have this conversation with me. I think this is number 5 of the TechExec conversations that I have with executives around Denver, and you were definitely somebody that I had on my list to chat to at the start. I'd love you to give a quick overview, obviously, of yourself, but I know you as somebody who has a large scale project management background, a multicultural management background, the ability to speak many languages, and the fact that you have you've worked in lots of different industries and different capacities. I think gives you a very unique perspective on lots of things from vendor management to project management. So just on that note, Oren Bierkatz, give me your introduction.
Will do. So nice to meet you. I'm Oren Bierkatz. I am the Vice President IT North Americas for Sapiens. Sapiens is an international software house. We specialize in software for the insurance market. Myself, I've been in the industry, I want to say, for a long time, over 25 years now. And I've grown up in project management applications such as ERP, CRM. I've done that internationally in Israel, in many countries in Europe, Far East, US, Mexico, Canada. And and the flip side of that, the CRM. So one of the largest projects I think I had the pleasure of leading was the project manager for the Workday implementation at the City and County of Denver. That is, I think, several $billion a year budget organization. We had 13,000 users at go live with 50 plus agencies where the police, the sheriff, the Denver International Airport, they're all agencies. Right now at Sapiens, I'm regionally responsible for anything IT, if it's support, infrastructure, network, security, anything, phones, cell phones, all of it. And in the Sapiens Special Logic, that includes US, Canada, and China. So I'm responsible for all of that.
That's a very diverse set of stories, set of languages, people, working types. You and I have had conversations previous to this, but your understanding of both remote, hybrid, and in-office management styles, and quality of engagement from employees. How do you think it's worked for you over like the last 2.5 years? Like, there's lots of information out there, but you've like really been working in different models. What's the best? How's it worked for you, both culturally, time zone wise, people wise? Give me your overview on that, because that's something that's, I think, very important for people to know and understand from a large company across the globe.
Right. So we are over 5,000 people in, I want to say, 30 plus countries, headquartered in Israel. I think we were lucky that we are a high-tech company. I can definitely see how that was an advantage compared to maybe other industries. All of our users, we're used to at least occasionally working from home. We have long since moved to laptops instead of desktops. So we were, I want to say, halfway there. And I've seen that in our organization, and I've seen it in other organizations where I have friends and heard about it. When you have people that have had the experience of working from home before and had the ability to be mobile, again, laptops versus desktops, then the transition was large, but not too strenuous. It was not a showstopper. People adjusted and adjusted quickly. I can tell you that since then, over the last 2.5 years, this time span you mentioned, people have gotten very used to that. And as an IT organization, we've gotten used to supporting that. So for example, we have, I want to say around 700 people in the region. It's better than 2/3 are designated home-based people. Only a third or less of a third would come back to the office should we enforce that or make that happen. No one does. The offices we have are open. People can come to them. They choose not to. So what I think is that we are seeing a paradigm shift that was long in coming. Again, the gradual transition to mobile devices and ability to work remotely, Office 365, VPN, all that was in place. What the pandemic, I think, did for us is gave it a hard stop. You're switching now, right now. There's no more doing it. So that has become the norm. People have gotten used to that, and organizations have gotten used to that. And when I say organizations, again, I'm talking about the IT organization to support that, as well as development organizations and upper management, who obviously can see that over the period of 2-3 years, we're producing, we're selling, we're supporting, we're making money. So the model does work for everyone. It's a matter of adjustment. And this maybe I can quote Sir Charles Darwin and say, whoever adapts the best survives. I think looking into the future, this is going to be more of a permanent change. With that, I mean that people will not want to come back to the office. And first of all, you can see that by people declining job offers if they are made to come back to the office. I think you told me of an example of a lady who was asked to come into the office once a month, and she declined a job offer because she didn't want to have that drive.
Yep.
I don't want to have that drive either.
Just as a kind of a pushback, though, I've had people that I've worked with have said that they don't want to consider working remote. Like they want to have that in-office feel. I think offering people options is the way forward. That's in my opinion, and I'd love to hear about if Int is going to offer that if they can within, because I know you guys hire people all over the place for quality, and have some hubs spread across the world and the nation. But is that something that you're going to look at? Is like giving people the option to come in, which it sounds like you already mentioned. You do have offices open and people can come in at their leisure. But I feel after 2 years or so, people are kind of also burned out of working from home full time.
So the problem with that is that it would entail the worst of both worlds. From an organizational perspective, you would then have to maintain offices with all that implies, the rent, the HVAC, the cleaning, the IT costs, all the costs associated with that for less than 50% usage. If you're saying come back 2 or 3 days a week to the office. And again, the majority of people don't want to. I'm sure that we have exceptions. In fact, I think there's a bit of a cultural difference. Someone pointed out to me once that people who live in Colorado or other places have larger homes and actually have somewhere to sit and work. Whereas people who might be in large city, think New York, don't have that necessarily. As a quirk, you can say that Starbucks got a lot out of this pandemic or the work from home culture, because people sit at Starbucks all day and work from there. So people, I think, want the social interaction. They don't want to be forced into the office. And I think, and I've written a couple of articles on that, you can see that on my LinkedIn profile, the new normal. I think that if we want to get people together, and from a cultural perspective, we need to get people together. Okay, I want to be clear about that. It has to be a fun occasion. People will have to want to come to that. Do we need offices for that? No, I don't think so. I think that these are two separate issues. The old way of thinking says, if you want to get people together, you need an office, you need a conference room, everyone come there. Well, we have options today. First of all, do we need an entire floor? No. WeWork or other shared offices, colos, are doing great. So if we, for example, closed an office we had in Iowa, people just simply wouldn't come there. And from a place that had room for 50 people, we went to a WeWork for 3 people, and everyone is happy. Those that want to come to the office have a location, a Sapiens location. Those that do not, 90%, they don't. As I mentioned in one of my articles, if we can get HR or someone to become the social event drivers, the social coordinators, and we can get together crazy ideas like rent out a hotel room or a golf course or a fun place for a week, once a month. Everyone comes together. That entices people to come, that gets you that face-to-face that's so valuable, so culture building, and does eliminate the cost of maintaining a full office year-round. If we can think like that, I think we can get over people not wanting to come to the office, losing candidates that don't want to be forced to come to the office, and yet get that face-to-face time that is so valuable for cultural, for the organizational culture.
That makes and I know that is becoming a option for people, an option for organizations is to offer that, because what I think you found is part of the Great Resignation is people are missing that company culture piece, that they're not really attached to the people they work with or the company they work with because they don't really work in plain sight, or at least within the mission, or understanding the full mission, or really feeling part of the mission. So that's a really that's all really good stuff. Kind of moving on, because there's like so much that I want to talk to you about. The with that though, moving on to like people and people management. When you did, and you mentioned this in your kind of your introduction, you did manage like one of the largest projects, which was an ERP projects for the city and county, which was an ERP Workday rollout. Understanding people is obviously very important. What did you feel helped you kind of deliver on that? What did you feel helped you be successful with that? Because that involved a lot of agencies and a lot of people.
Yeah, it involved hundreds of people in the actual project or in the day-to-day project working, and some 13,000 people were affected directly when we went live. Directly, I mean payroll. So, and day-to-day job, where they work, how they do their job. There's, I think, a threshold, and then there's the add-on that leads you to succeed in that kind of a role. Very large-scale organizational-wide projects, be it ERP, CRM, data, digital transformation. I've done all of that, and I think the threshold is first of all technical knowledge, technical chops, to say I know how ERP works, I know how CRM works, I know how to move on-prem service to the cloud. You need to know what you're talking about. That is a threshold, however. It is required, not sufficient. In order to be successful, in addition to that threshold technical knowledge, you need to, I think, to have people knowledge. And I think that comes down to one word: empathy. When I come to a department, let's say the financial department there, and I tell them, all your knowledge, you've been working at this for X years, you're experts at your job, toss all of that out. You're going to move to a completely new way, completely new system of working. And that guy that just joined 2 months ago has exactly the same level of experience as you do. And all your preferred ways of working, toss that out, because we're now enforcing a new way. And you don't really get a say in that. I mean, we will adjust as much as we can, but they're hard goalposts. And you can only color between these lines. So delivering that kind of news to hundreds of people, a lot of them are high executives or very influential people. Yeah, there's an art to that. And to then get them on board with the change, make them change agents. You are the primary change agent. help them become change agents as well, because it is a snowball effect. If I can get the HR department to agree that we're going to do things very, very differently, and then help them buy in and understand that this is actually going to help them a lot, they become evangelists, and they will tell others, and they will bring the others on board. So you need to have the technical knowledge, because as you do these things, you speak many different languages, but you need empathy too. When you say different languages, I mean, I will talk to the consultant company. I will talk to the DBA. I will talk to the change manager there. I will talk to the finance people. I will talk to the HR people. I'll talk to IT people. So everyone has their own language. Everyone has their own jargon. Everyone has their own needs and their own fears. You need to address them all. I need to speak their language. I need to be able to converse with the CFO about the budget and how we structure that, and CapEx and OpEx and the financial planning and analysis. And I need to turn around and tell the IT guys, I need 2 servers there with redundancy and connectivity to the internet. I need these ports open. So I coined the term the diplomatic translator, because I will then take what the head of ops wants and turn it around to the reporting team and say, this is what they need to see. This is how they need to see it. You know, the COO will come and say, I need to understand how we're doing on metrics A, B, C. Yeah, go to the IT team and say, take this from that table, take that from this table. This is how your data conversion. This is how you put it in the data warehouse, do the translation, the ETL, and come back to the CEO and say, here's your picture.
That's interesting. So you would dedicate, or not dedicate, you would describe your success in that particular project, and I would say in general, because it sounds like you use that mentality, that art form, in all aspects of leading and managing, that you can speak to a DBA or a high level technical or just business stakeholder to get basically to get action, like a call to action, or make sure you're bridging a gap, that people understand exactly where things are going, and being able to talk at 2 different levels within an organization is super important. Do you think that feeds into your, or that comes from, one, your I suppose your multi your multi national background, and then also your military background, right? Because you do have so, and both are I think are important questions to answer different. Like, did the military help you with kind of understanding empathy, or was it more your multicultural background? And then can you explain how both of them helped you become a good leader?
I think they definitely both play into who I am and how I work and how I think. So as you know, I was born in Germany, West Berlin at that time. And after a few years there, several years there, I then moved to Israel and grew up there and served in the Israeli Defense Forces before moving to Colorado. So having moved continents and different languages, right? So I speak German, Hebrew, and English, and then served in the military. All of that influenced you a lot. The moving around, the different languages, make you understand that people think differently and people talk differently and mean different things when they say the same things. Anyone, will tell you that kids that grow up with 2 languages have a better understanding of differences. So with 3 languages, I think I have that and a bit more maybe. So that
nothing but differences.
Yes. So when I now work with people in England, with people in Canada, with people in India, and I work a lot with people, always have worked a lot with people in India, and then HQ in Israel, everyone speaks English, and yet they say completely different things. Even when they're supposedly saying the same, they mean very different things. So that helps me understand or be open to that and look for the actual meaning behind what they're saying, right? If you get an email from someone in India and it says, kindly look at this, and you get an email from Israel where they're extremely direct to say, look at this now. That actually is probably the same, although one sounds much harsher than the other. And one is, hey, can you help me? And the other is, I need you to look at this, drop everything. So there are very different cultures involved around the world and in the US as well. People from New York speak very differently than people from Denver. People from Texas, I think they would very much agree, are different from Californians. So again, you need to know your audience. You need to know your colleagues and your stakeholders. Coming up in the military, where I served for several years, you learn that oftentimes you don't get a vote. You're told what to do, and you do it right now, and you do it to the best of your abilities. And then, as the famous saying goes, you have the guy with you in the foxhole, and that's your buddy, and that's your battle buddy. You fight for him. So having served in the military, I think emphasized my natural tendency to become a team player. It's about everyone, your team, not you. And if the team succeeds, then you succeed. It cannot be vice versa. If you succeed but the team fails, that's no success. So for me, I am not content to say I did my job and technically I delivered. If the organization fails, who cares? So I learned, and was forced to learn, right? No one asked me, that if you work together, if you combine, and everyone succeeds, then you have success. And having the ability to do that in several languages and with people from very different cultures, yeah, that's I think my approach to success and how I've been doing this for the last 25 plus years.
That's interesting from a military standpoint, because I've worked with people from the military on and off for almost a decade now, and I think there are two types of people from the military, that one become very team oriented and the other become very mission oriented. And I think that when people become very mission oriented, they kind of forget about the team or certain members of the team. Described such as like that outcomes are the utmost importance within the mission, whereas like team is obviously that you just stated, that kind of the team wins, then I win. That's very interesting. That the two don't necessarily go hand in hand.
They don't, and I think the IDF is a bit different from the US military in a sense that it is much more like the special forces here. And if you look at someone who in the US maybe came up in infantry and saying, come on, and there's the mission mindset, right? This is your mission. You will do everything possible to achieve that. And when you look at special forces where people are more encouraged to think for themselves, here's the mission parameter, and how do you achieve that? It's your problem. You don't get exactly. Okay, you get the mission, you get it.
Yeah. That makes sense actually. And I never really made the distinction when someone said did they work for the military. So I assume with that mentality that they were maybe special forces or special teams.
It's what cool. You're expected to do in terms of mental thinking. As a foot soldier, you're told exactly what to do, when to do, how to do it. Mm-hmm. And special forces, you're maybe more life experienced. You have better capabilities of thinking for yourself, and you're giving mission parameters like go deploy CRM, SAP, or so whatever. My first project was an SAP implementation for the largest cell phone company in Israel. No one knew what success looked like. Not exactly. That's your job to achieve it and say, here.
Yeah, that must have created quite a learning environment for you and the people that you were working with.
Yes. Again, you have to have the technical knowledge. If you don't have those chops, you will not be taken seriously. And so that is a threshold. You absolutely have to have that. And you get that by doing and experience and reading and learning and everything you can. It's an active, ongoing process. You can never stay still, unfortunately. The world of IT is ever changing. So you have to have that. But then the ability to think team, to think what success looks like for your customers, not for yourself, for your customers. that is how you achieve success. Because when I can say that 13,000 people got their payroll correctly on the first time, at the first try in production, that is success.
Yeah, no one's complaining about not getting paid. That is true.
That is one thing. You don't want to miss with that. These things are extremely sensitive.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I understand. And that kind of nice segue into I suppose the last part, which is what I wanted to ask you about, which is the vendor management, kind of vendor selection, how you like to work with third parties that support, you know, your initiatives. I suppose, and the team aspect is maybe plays into it a little bit. I don't know. Well, I definitely know it does. But what do you look for when you want to work with third party external? You know, anything from software to services. But what do you do? Like, what's your grading, your experience?
I like to look at these two elements. Again, they absolutely have to bring the technical knowledge. If they're Microsoft experts or if they're AWS experts, they have to be experts. Otherwise, let's not waste our time. I don't want to get juniors in here that will learn with me. That's not what I'm paying for. So
Yeah.
I am looking for the experts, but not someone who is difficult to work with. Now, for myself, again, I need that person that I can interact with and I trust. I understand that the vendor needs to turn a buck. I have no problem with that. I'm in it for the money. My company's in it for the money. The vendor's in it for the money. Fine. So I am okay with them making money on me with two caveats. Let's be reasonable about the cost and let's succeed. It's very hard to argue with success. So if I can rely on their technical chops, if I can trust them and I can work with them from a cultural perspective, this is someone I like to work with, we're in it to succeed together.
Yeah. So transparency. You like honesty, transparency, understanding, communication, all the good buzzwords
We
that people
currently
use.
have a project going on. We had deployed ServiceNow, and I led that with my colleague in Israel, and we're now in phase 2. There's a delay, and we talked about that, and we're not gonna make the original milestone. We're 2 months delayed, I think, but I need to know that, and I appreciate that they did not try to hide that from me, rather than tell me up front, and we understand why, and we can communicate that and reset expectations. What you don't want to do as a vendor is trip up your sponsor and your customer. That's the worst you could do. So delays, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, that's very good. And that kind of leads me to like the last question that I like to ask people is like knowing your why, you know. You have what would be considered a high stress job to a certain extent. Well, no, I know you do because it's just the size and scope and land, like the area with which you kind of manage. Like, why do you do it? Like, why do you look for like roles in that space, in that kind of roles? And it's not the first time you've done something like this, or
Right.
you know,
So I've done all kinds of roles. I've been a system administrator, I've been a trainer, I've been project manager, I've been program director. As I said, right now I'm the vice president IT and dealing with all of North America's all aspects. What I like about this is two things. I like the field because it's ever changing and we have cool new stuff and new capabilities, and I geek out on that, I'll be honest. But then I like to help people. It's something inbred in me. That's something I enjoy doing. And as you know, I do other things that also fall into that category. For me to be able to work with the organization and be a part of the success, be a success enabler, be a success driver, that gives me a lot of satisfaction. When I can talk to executive management and they consult with me, that's a lot of satisfaction.
awesome. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So the ability to kind of work again with people above and below and all around and getting to understand everybody, and then moving forward in your own career. That's a you know, to parse that out a little bit. That's kind of that's what I hear, and I think that that's a really good noble why. I really appreciate your time to talk today. The reason I do this, obviously, I mentioned, is like to share information, learning online. People these days a lot of micro learning when they're sitting at their computer. They don't get to do a lot of formal education. So there's definitely some tidbits in here that we can share across different channels. So I appreciate your time, Oren. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it.